You know that saying, fake it until you make it? Well, sometimes it can actually lead to feelings of feeling like a fake or a fraud. And it's called imposter syndrome, and it's very, very real. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But first, I want to let you know that I am starting a new playlist on my channel. And this is really dedicated to new teachers. And it's hard to be a teacher, and it's really, really hard to be a new teacher, especially. And so this playlist is going to specifically address issues for new teachers, things like curriculum and instruction and lesson planning and communication and classroom management and all of those things. And in addition to this playlist, I'm actually creating a podcast just for new teachers. I've got a new project going. I'm really excited about that. So if that is something that you're interested in, I hope you will join me. My name is Emily Muccianti. I'm a reading specialist and an interventionist and a mentor. Have been for a long time. And so I'm hoping you will join me for that. All right, so let's jump into this. So today what we are going to do is talk about imposter syndrome. Now, imposter syndrome is defined by Google as, loosely defined by Google, let me say, as doubting your abilities and feeling like a fraud. It disproportionately affects high achieving people who find it difficult to accept their accomplishments, and many question whether they're actually deserving of their accolades. Now, that's a lot. It's a real thing. And according to Psychology Today, anywhere from 25 to 30% of people actually really have suffering types of issues with this, where it's affecting their daily life. And so understanding who are teachers, who are we in this field? Well, we are typically those type A, high achieving, good students that have continued on the education path. And so my guess is that those numbers would be much higher in the education space. And so that's why it's something that we are going to talk about today. Now, in the past, I have had to deal with the feelings of imposter syndrome myself. It's actually really affected me to the point where it caused my anxiety to go through the roof, and it was just a whole mess. I was in a position where I had moved into a new district. It happened to be the district that I lived in, the one where my kids went to school, and felt like a rookie again. And everybody, by the way, deserves to feel like a rookie anytime you change grade levels, change schools, or change districts. And I had all three of those in one year. And it was a trying year for me. It was compounded by the fact that there was this amazing teacher who had come in the year before me, who I admired so much. And I just wanted to be like her because she was fantastic. And it took me a long time to realize that I couldn't be her. I had to figure out who I was and my style and my approach, and that was okay. But it took me a while to do that. So in today's episode, what we're going to do is talk about those things. What is imposter syndrome? Why is it there? And how do we overcome it? All right. So I'm going to give you 4 steps that I want you to think about. And the first one is that we need to reflect on how we're feeling and recognize if these feelings of being a fraud are kind of creeping into your day-to-day thoughts. First thing we have to do before we can change or fix anything, we have to recognize it. And so let's recognize it and understand that imposter syndrome starts with the foundation of feeling a lack of confidence. When we're not confident in what we're doing, we are trying to fake it so that we can kind of develop this bravado and get through it. Now, let me say something about faking it real quick. To a certain extent, in regards to like your students in your classroom, it's okay to fake it. You have to have a presence about you that you may not feel real confident with yet, but you have to do that because you are the leader of this particular classroom or subject or grade level or whatever it is. And so your students need to see that authority in you. And so in my opinion, that's okay. When we're talking about imposter syndrome, we're talking about things that are really deep-seated inside of yourself and are affecting other aspects of your life. And there's the distinction that needs to be made. All right, so we know that it comes from a lack of confidence. We also know that new teachers don't have a lot of confidence coming in, and that's natural and perfectly acceptable because you're learning. How do we get good at anything? It's through practice and repetition. And if it's your first or second year in the classroom, you're just not there yet. You will start to feel more and more confident each additional year that you get through this. And that comes with time. So let's recognize if you have it. And so that you can, first of all, understand where it is coming from and that it's perfectly normal to a certain extent. Now, according to the definition, there was this inability to recognize somebody's accolades or recognitions, their strengths. So one thing that we could do to combat that is let's focus on our strengths. Let's focus on those concrete recognitions and achievements that you get. Things like you get an email from a parent that thanks you for something. It's okay to print those out and put them up where you can see them. Or you get a note from your student that says something really amazing and sweet, and it makes you feel good. Have it where you can see it. I remember I had a superintendent a number of years ago that would come through our school. We were in a very small district, but she would come through our sites. She would stay and visit for a few minutes, and she would always leave me a Post-it note on my desk. And it would say something like, I love the way your students are engaged, or this project looked amazing, or you have such a wonderful presence. I mean, it was just these little teeny random thoughts. And you know what I did with them? I kept them all, and I would put them on a piece of paper and stick them in a page protector, and I would keep them in my desk. And so when I had these moments of feeling really weak, and you got those bad teacher days, I would whip that thing out and I would read it as a reminder. And so sometimes those little concrete things, those accolades and recognitions are really nice. They can get you through some difficult times. Something else you can do is share your success. Something, and this takes some guts because it may not be something you do first year, but when you've got a really great lesson that you're super excited about, invite a colleague or your principal or somebody to come in and watch it because you're happy about showing what you're doing. When you know it's going to be good, or you're pretty confident, share those things. Or if you're having lunch with a colleague and you want to just say, I just want to share a really awesome teacher moment, and you share this great thing that happened. Sharing those things that are concrete are going to make others kind of fall in line, and they will give you those pats on the back that honestly, they feel good. They just do. And what we're driving for is to kind of have that internal feeling that we are starting to develop as new professionals in this. And these things will build your confidence, because if confidence is the biggest reason that we're having imposter syndrome, then we've got to find ways to build confidence. And some of those things would be very helpful. One other bit of advice that I think is important when you're talking about focusing on your strengths, and it also comes from what you say. All right. Positive self-talk, telling yourself, good things rather than focusing on the negative. When you talk to other people, say what you mean and mean what you say. And that means you have to be careful what comes out of your mouth. Yes, but you need to stand by your word. All of those things are going to help you to build confidence, which is going to keep that imposter syndrome in check. Okay, so another thing that you can do to help combat your imposter syndrome is admit your weaknesses. We all have them. Okay, so we all have weaknesses, and they are not things that we need to hide behind. Don't hide behind your faults. Don't just, continue to feel weak in an area and not do anything about it, because we all feel that way. So admit when there's a weakness and be brave enough to share those weaknesses with other people. When you show your vulnerable side and you show that you are struggling with something, you will be amazed at what kinds of bridges that creates with other teachers dealing with the same thing. And it won't be long before you are sitting in your room for a break or lunch or after school or something, and somebody's going to walk into your room and they're going to say, you know that thing you were talking about, X, Y, and Z? I feel that way too. And what you could start to develop is a confidant or a marigold. And we want to have those relationships. I will caution you, make sure though that you are developing relationships that are strong and confidential. You want to always assure anyone who's willing to open up to you that whatever they're sharing is not going to go any further than your ears. And that's really important. That's how we, kind of just build that relationship. All right. So yeah, you'll be surprised at how much your vulnerability can actually help to lift up others. And then the final fourth thing is, if imposter syndrome is causing some serious issues, like it did for me, it created some serious anxiety, some panic attacks. It was really ugly for me for about a year. And you can reach out for help. That's really important. First, go to a mentor, go to a colleague, somebody that you can talk to, and see if that kind of helps to alleviate that. It's okay to seek out a therapist if there's somebody that you can go and talk to. I am not a medical expert, please know that, but I actually went to my doctor and was like, I'm struggling with this. I don't want to feel this way. And she was able to help me with a very low dose anti-anxiety medication that helped me a great deal. Not anything I recommend, but it was that bad for me. And then if you've got a family friend or an outside person, a family member or a family friend who's outside of the profession, consider reaching out to them, because it's really nice. They can give you a perspective that's not within the field and just keep you grounded into what's real. My mom was the one that I went to, and she talked me through my whole first year, reminding me of who I was and that the things I was perceiving to be true were not actually true. And it just helped me so much. So if you've got those people, then fantastic. And to conclude, yes, imposter syndrome is real. It absolutely is real, but you don't need to be defined by these feelings. There are ways to get in control of it. First of all, remember to recognize it when you have it, acknowledge your strengths and those things that make you feel good. Admit your weaknesses and don't hide behind your faults. And then finally, seek help. It's okay. We all need a little help every now and then. And I hope that this video has given you something to think about. I hope it has proven helpful to you. And just like me, you too can find kind of who you are, what your style is, and who you are going to be, rather than trying to be somebody that you are not. If you found value in this video, please like, share, subscribe, send it to people that may benefit from this, because being a teacher is tough, you guys, and being a new teacher is really tough. And my goal is to see if I can lend an ear or a shoulder and help you through that. All right. Thank you. And thank you for what you do. And bye for now.